So this is building custom user experiences with Gutenberg and BB roles, but it's also about, again, like customizing it for as an agency or for clients. And I'm going to get first into like theoretical stuff about like WordPress, how it fits in a larger ecosystem overall, but I will try to like keep that light. So about me, as Steve already said, I can skip that slide, but I am the proud papa of a long-haired Chihuahua. And we did have portrait day at the apartment complex today. So that's like the, what do you call it? The work in progress. They're doing something. That's my dog, Zeus. He's sitting over here quietly waiting for me to finish my presentation and go for a walk. Cool. If you want, if you could, even on Instagram or Twitter, if you want to tweet at me or gram at me with hashtag WPMYC, it's good. It helps out, lets me know that what I'm saying actually holds value. It's not easy to always volunteer. And then I was, recently speaking with someone about how it's very difficult to present online. So I try a lot to not do death by PowerPoint with a bunch of bullet points. So I would like everyone here, as I'm speaking, to per slide or when you feel like it, drop some emoji in there, and I will interpret the emoji to continue how I'm speaking. So if you see here, there's like a party emoji, and then I'm confused, make the vom emoji or like the pre-vomit emoji. So just drop, that's why I wanted the chat open. I don't know if anyone could drop an emoji in there to let me see if it works. Anyone wants to volunteer, drop an emoji in the chat. Keep it clean. I think there's only the poo emoji. Yeah, there we go. Great. Thank you, Chris. Cool. So this is 100% my personal and professional opinion. I just want to clarify that, just because, this isn't me telling you to do anything based on anything that I've learned from working with anyone. That was just something I was given, when I met a lawyer. So yeah. Anyway, cool. So Gutenberg. Gutenberg came out around 2018, and this was the emotional journey that people had. It's broken. It's going to break. It's scary, and oh God, I'm screaming, and it was very scary. So Gutenberg kind of just made everyone upset. And this was 2020. People were like, I'm curious. Some people were like, I'm in love with it, and some people were like, oh my God, we're still done with Gutenberg. I'm not scared anymore, but I know my enemy, and it's Gutenberg. So I want to just talk about why people hate Gutenberg, right? Because you hear a lot of people, especially our meetups and other WordPress events, they'll say oh, I hate Gutenberg and Gutenberg is the worst and blah 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 blah. And for me, I had to kind of sit down and say well, why do people hate Gutenberg, right? And so the first thing is, who are people in this scenario, right? In this scenario of the WordPress ecosystem, and this is a generalization. There's many different people out there that use WordPress. WordPress is used for large engineering organizations, et cetera. But I would say 99% of people that use WordPress, and that includes our meetup, are one of these two. Type A. And I would call these the WordPress implementers, someone like Bud, who's not a developer, but understands WordPress really well, knows the community, knows the ecosystem. They can easily set up things with existing plugins, themes, and an ecosystem, et cetera. But again, if something breaks, they do need to hire a developer. But a lot of the times you don't need to call a developer. There is a big ecosystem for this. However, WordPress, and I famously love to mock it because, I don't know if anyone has seen, WordPress has the 5-minute setup. That assumes that you have a PHP environment, MySQL, and all this other stuff set up on your computer. So WordPress has never been a 5-minute setup. There is no 5-minute setup for WordPress. If that's still on the WordPress.org site, whoever's volunteering for the marketing team lately should maybe take that down because that is a misleading line. So the second type of person, and this happens from the 5-minute lie, that they are type B, they love WordPress, but they constantly chase down type A's to explain them how all these different things work until they quit. And so you will get a lot of people, and some of the freelancers here I know have had frustration with clients because the client's well, I want WordPress to do this, I want WordPress to do that, or I want this. And, WordPress can be overwhelming because there's only too many options. We're not going to solve that problem today, but what we're going to do is learn how to limit the confusion when a client is inside of the WordPress environment, and I'm going to show you how to do it the WordPress way, so that we're not going to use any JavaScript. We're not going to use CSS to hide admin columns or anything like that. We're just going to use WordPress functions, hooks, filters that I've documented. And when you get the code repository at the end of this presentation, you can follow along and like borrow all my code, because it's not even mine. I stole it from other people anyway. So it's not like it's open source, right? Like we're just, copying and pasting from each other and modifying. Yeah. So these type Bs, the reason they want WordPress is a powerful CMS, right? WordPress, in my opinion, when anyone's like, hey, I want Wix, hey, I want Square, hey, or Squarespace, I want any of these things, the reason those things don't work is because the minute someone says, oh, I want to do affiliate marketing, I want to do RSS feeds for a MailChimp subscription, I want to send a newsletter, I want to do all of those functionalities are very limited in website builders. So I would say that as an agency or as a person selling WordPress professionally, or if you're a person trying to hire someone, you should not hire a website builder. In reality, if you just want a website and you want to like move things around, there's much better tools for that. Webflow, not Elementor, but like, Webflow, Squarespace, Wix, they're all better, in my opinion, website builders than WordPress, because WordPress comes with a lot of technical debt. But if you want to use WordPress as a CMS, this is where it's at. Because you can do things like affiliate marketing, et cetera. And there's always some article about like why I stopped using WordPress. And whenever you go back and look at that person's site, they either went back to WordPress or they went to a custom solution. They never went to Wix. They never went to Squarespace, because they fall in love with the power that is available inside the WordPress ecosystem, whether that be through plugins, whether it be through community, whether it be through market share. There's many different things that make WordPress what it is. And a lot of, and this is like, if anyone gets this, is like the headphone thing. Wix tried to market themselves as the alternative to WordPress. Like, oh, hey, sick of your plugins breaking, sick of this breaking. Well, in reality, Wix as a website builder was great, but the reason everyone mocked it, Wix as a development platform and as a CMS, is dog crap. It's not good at all. And so that's why Wix fell flat in its face, because Wix is targeting website builders, not people who use WordPress as a dashboard or as a CMS to power their marketing platform or whatever. Yeah, cool. And the reason those things happen, or like all these like headphones, it's unmet expectations, right? The 5-minute install tells everyone, hey, you can set up WordPress in 5 minutes. Then, your mom or like your family member goes and sets up WordPress, and then Thanksgiving dinner, they're taking you in the living room being like, hey, for 2 hours while Aunt so-and-so's making dinner, why don't you help me with my WordPress website? And then you and I live that same nightmare every holiday, and that's WordPress, right? And by the way, emojis for humor, if you don't like my humor, let me know. Keep it going, but because I do like to drop dad jokes in there. But yeah, so let me know how I'm doing. I'm not seeing an emoji, getting nervous. We're good. All right. So what are the alternatives to Gutenberg, right? What else is out there? And so I'm going to go through a couple of the other options. There's page builders, which a lot of people use. I used to swear up and down by page builders until I got a little more professional, and I started to want to reuse my work. I'll cover that in a little bit. But yeah, there's page builders. This is Elementor. Elementor is doing so well. It has I think $1 billion valuation and funding from some like angel investor fund. But here are the page builder pros and cons, right? Like I said before, they're focused on front end results. There's too much control for users. So to let you guys know, like if you look over here in I don't know if you can see me waving my mouse, in a Elementor environment, there's too many things for them to add. You may only want the client to be able to edit this text, choose a form, and edit the button. But if you go into Elementor, you have a client, they can automatically go and start editing all these little things, and they can really break the site. And that's what I mean. There's a lack of granular control for developers. However, one of the bonuses is the closer parity to front end results, meaning that when like a WYSIWYG, which means what you see is what you get. So when the client goes and looks at this and they go and edit a page, it looks somewhat what the user expects on the front end. And that was the big problem with the classic editor. You would go and look at something and it would not, wouldn't look the way on the front end, the same way it looked in the back end. But a page builder and a CMS adds a lot of bloat. It adds 30 modules, adds 30 options per module. When a user places an item, and I had this happen all the time, we would go and add a custom class to, let's say, like a testimonial Elementor. They don't call them widgets, they call them components, or whatever their version of a Elementor item is. And then the client would go and add that, but the class wouldn't get injected. And so they wouldn't get any of our styling, right? And so that was like, the client would go, wait a minute, where are all my styles? And we say, oh yeah, you have to use this set of blocks. And there's no way to remove all the default core modules. You have to say, oh yeah, there's these modules and then there's our modules, which is very confusing. And again, it assumes two type of users, the WP type A and the site users. So it's like, Elementor is not built for the people who want Wix. Elementor is built for the implementers. It's built for people who want the type A's. It's not really built for end users. And it's a completely different user experience and documentation. Nothing that you learn in the WordPress community will prepare you for Elementor. It's a whole nother school of thought. And that's why if you go to hire, recruit, and retain, you also then have to hire Elementor developers and designers, not Beaver Builder Elementor designers or Gutenberg, designers. It can get very confusing, and then it makes it hard for you as an agency to scale. And again, the UX problems are in reverse. I forgot I had this slide. But yeah, so then you can go and like the UX problems, again, I pointed that out before, too many options. The next other way to go, and I would say this is the opposite end of the spectrum, people use custom fields. And if you're not familiar, there used to be a thing called pods. I don't even know if it's maintained anymore. Advanced custom fields, TypeRocket, Picklist, which is by Steve Brunner, has a plugin. That's where I first learned about fields and types and all this stuff, was Picklist. And you can go and make these fields, and you can make it so the client can't touch anything. It's very limited options, right? But it's focused on predefined front-end results, meaning you're not allowing the client to drop what they want on the page. If all of a sudden they want to go and modify that template, you're restricting them to a set of fields. And someone just said, by the way, that Elementor calls them widgets. Well, how confusing is that? Because WordPress has widgets. So when you tell your client to change the widget and they go and Google WordPress widgets, no. You meant to tell them to Google Elementor widgets. You've essentially taken away their number one answer machine, which is Google. So who becomes the number one answer machine? You, for $5 an hour. So that's why I don't use page builders anymore. But so limited control for users with advanced custom fields, no parity to front end results. So the client's going and looking, go, what's it look like on the front end, right? But there's PHP and Node.js skills or tooling required. That was one of the biggest complaints about WordPress, about Gutenberg, is that, I have to learn React. I have to learn JavaScript. I have to learn, all this new tooling, et cetera. But all the code snippets I'm going to share with you, by the way, are like WordPress, like 5.1, and I'll show you, and they're like PHP 5.6. I'll show you some of these things later when we get into it. But the custom fields in a CMS, this is where it's powerful. You can make unlimited custom modules. Like you can make your own repeater field. You can make your own flex repeater, where essentially you're going, and I've seen this where people essentially recreated Gutenberg, where they are going and they remove all the Gutenberg blocks, and then they add their own ACF paragraph, ACF testimonial, ACF whatever. They add all their own blocks, which is kind of wild to me, because that means like you're now having to maintain 40 to 50 custom blocks instead of 0 if you use the core blocks, which I'll cover later. But yeah, and then so they're recreating existing functionality that requires maintenance, and it requires a different experience and documentation. So again, you're now asking your clients, your developers, and everyone that works inside of your individual WordPress ecosystem to learn a new set of tools, and it doesn't scale. And again, this is like problems in the UX, like if the client says to you, hey, where do I go and add a CTA? Where do I go and add a pop-up? And in WordPress, the way it used to be, there used to be on the side, you would go and add a CTA, and you tell them to add a short code. Then the client would forget like a quote in the short code, and then it would break, and then they call you, and then you miss Thanksgiving, and then it's like a lot of problems. So and then also, the other thing too is like when you install these plugins and you install this stuff, this is actually rendered terribly, I guess, because I pulled it from a CDN. Your WordPress just looks terrible. Like go to WPMU, and as nice as like those guys are, they write great content. WPMU makes your site look like a carnival. It's a carnival of nightmares. Like it's just terrible stuff. It's confusing the client. They want to log in. It's very like where do you even start, right? And if anyone's not familiar, I forget this UI concept, but it's called Touchpoints. when people log into something, they should have a limited amount of touch points. When you log into a WordPress website, most WordPress websites have 100 to 200 different touch points. You're overwhelming the client and they don't even know where to go. And I think the WordPress core is guilty for this as well. I'll cover that in a little bit. But yeah, it's easy to clean up. And again, I'll give you all the code for it. So it looks terrible. But now Gutenberg gives you, in my opinion, and you'll see the best of both worlds, meaning that you're going to get a lot of the pros that I mentioned before, which is control over the user experience and developer tooling to make it look, to be able to offer custom capabilities to your clients without using something like Elementor. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to build custom UX for users in Gutenberg using some 4+-year-old code from WP. And that's like supposed to be, like, wow, super cool. Yeah, and so like, I'm gonna blow your minds, hopefully. So keep the emoji coming if I do blow your mind at any point. All right, so one of the concepts that I like to share is that you need to start thinking of WordPress as 3 different front ends. Now, for most people in WordPress, we consider the admin the back end, and we consider the theme and the way it renders the front end. But in the traditional development world, the admin is a client-side or front-end interface, meaning that I am viewing in my browser. The editor is a client-side or front-end interface that I'm all viewing in my browser. The front end or the theme, again, is a client-side render. So you have 3 different front ends, and the way I see it, 3 different opportunities to build a really great user experience for your users who are using the site and trying to publish content and just get stuff done. And so another thing that I would pose, and I didn't put this in the slides, but I always say to clients all the time, they will say to me like, well, like, we're not good at publishing content, but you will see that they are publishing like 30 to 40 Instagram posts a week. Well, they could take those 30 or 40 Instagram posts and round them up and make a roundup of their posts every week. Why are they not doing that? Because WordPress can be a pain in the ass, right? So if you see people that are creating really great content on social media platforms, but they're not creating it on their own site, which, if you've heard the saying, don't build a business on borrowed land, you're one algorithm update away from everything getting removed, then that's kind of dumb. And you can make this now easier for the client to use. So I'm going to use I call, like, this is what I'm going to get when we get into the code in a second here. I'm going to use a couple things that are very basic. These are WordPress classics: user roles, custom post types, admin columns, the admin bar, and custom templates. When I go through these, if you haven't seen these before, can I get some emojis, by the way? Like, I guess, like, give me a +1 or a thumbs up if you don't know what any of these things are, just so I kind of know how to gauge the technicality of this. If you're someone who, like, is a computer person, put like a computer emoji. I don't know, like, put like the asteroids guy in there. All right, I see some +1s. I think these are all Anthony. All right, I'm going to do Anthony speaks for the room. Steve, I think you've seen this. I'm going to say Steve speaks for the room. Jack is confused. Mervin put a computer. Okay, cool. So I'm going to assume that we have some like technical people here. All right, so let's dig in. Just so everyone knows what I did here, and I'm not going to, this is going to be available after. I set up the WordPress environment on here, local.my, local.wpnyc.com. I literally set this up at 6 o'clock while eating nachos. That's how fast it was, because it's that easy with local. And then I went and pulled down my repository that I did at WordCamp Phoenix. There's install instructions here with like theme, and these are things that, like, just like if you're an agency, you really should have your directory structure documented. You should have like these instructions so that your developer, I don't want to talk to people, like, or when I do talk to people, I want to talk about fun things, not how to set up an install, but all the instructions are here on what you want to do. So all of that's there. And so, yeah, I installed this theme and installed a functions plugin. And so this is the site. And it's just pre-populated with some Genesis, starter stuff. There's an About Us page, a Contact Us page, and it's super clean in the back end already. But you can already see that WordPress is, and by the way, I haven't touched this since February last year. So this got back in there annoyingly. The health check got back in there annoyingly. What I usually do is remove all these dashboards, and then I put custom dashboards in here. I recommend putting in things like SEO scores, Crux data, Core Web Vitals. That's a whole other tutorial, but like, I recommend, this is an opportunity for you to educate the client and get them to know how to use these things. And then on the left-hand side, you can see I made some custom post types. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but this is all set up. It's a marketing site, and what does a marketing site have? It's case studies, promotion, services, testimonials, pages. And so those are my custom post types. Yeah, so let's dig in. Oh, and of course, blocks, right? So now we're going to use blocks, and this is how we're going to get it done. So I'm using, if you didn't already see, a Genesis child theme, very standard. I didn't do much customization to it. All the customization is in the GitHub repository, and I'm going to walk through all of it. I'm using a custom functionality plugin. I do not recommend, if you're using a WordPress website, and this is like just separation of concerns, anything that should stay when you change the theme should go inside of a functions plugin. And just, what do I mean by that? If you go into the actual code base, actually I should go to my code. In the code base, for every project that we do, we touch two things. You can see this is PHX functions, and I have in here all my custom post types. I have here how I disabled all my widgets. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, just a custom functionality plugin and a custom theme, which is here. In here, WCPX Genesis, and that's that. So yeah, cool. Back to my slides. And then the other thing, a couple things I love, I put in, you can do user roles, but the one thing I wanted to show, and this actually blew my mind, if anyone came to me today, and actually when people do, and when clients say, hey, our guy needs to learn WordPress, I reach for two links. One, Zach Gordon, who I would say is like one of the best teachers in the WordPress space. And this was like one of the courses that really got me to understand how WordPress worked. He doesn't cover user roles or publishing capabilities at all. And this is called the Complete Guide to WordPress Theme Development. No knocks to Zach, but again, he's made this for website developers, not for CMS developers. Same thing with Know the Code by Tanya Mork, phenomenal developer, really great stuff in PHP. But if you go to her site, I don't know if anyone knows how to do a site search, if you cite knowthecode.io and you type in roles, not a single article on here about how to use roles. There's nothing in here about WordPress roles. And so this is like powerful stuff if you can figure it out. There's not even a course I could recommend. And so when I get into roles and capabilities, you're going to see it and you're going to go, oh my God, why didn't I do that before? And it's going to it blew my mind. And there's a simple plugin from PublishPress. The other thing we're going to use is user switching. And so user switching is just so you can test these things. The plugin will make sense when you see it. And then block unit test data, which allows us to display all the blocks and style them. But that's my tooling. This was a little long. Again, this is all in the repository, but I'm going to go through the code rather quickly because it's completely irrelevant. And to be honest, I just copied it. So there's nothing really to learn. I'm going to just show you where I copied it from and how you can copy it as well. And then now you're a developer. So scenario, agency website. Let's see the demo. And this is like, I'm messing this up, guys. I apologize. I'm going all over the place. This is because I did this last year. I rehearsed it before I went on stage at WordCamp Phoenix. They lost the audio tape. And so it's been lost to history. And so that's why I'm like using these slides and it worked. And this is what I've been working on, showing Steve some stuff in a larger scale how this works. So this is the site. I showed you that before. Let me jump back to DexSet. And so in DexSet, I went in, what I would recommend is like, let's think about a marketing website, right? And so this is when I sit down with a client and they start throwing all these pages at me, I'm like, hold on a second. Even today, I was on a meeting with a client today and they wanted translations. And they were like, how are these translations going to get done? And I said, well, who's doing them? Do you want to do it? Do you want to hire a VA with limited access to do it? Do you want us to do it? So who's doing it, right? And then what capabilities do they need? And so let's just pretend there's a marketing team, an SEO team, and you may not know this. Yoast SEO adds a user role of SEO manager, and that person can only add SEO. Let's say we have contributing writers. Let's say we have a legal review team for our privacy policies, right? So these are like some defined user roles. And so let's go and view the roles in the admin and how these things work. So in the admin, I went and installed this plugin called Capabilities. Capabilities allow, and I highly recommend Pro. I think it's like $100 a year for all of these plugins. If you've never seen this before, I'm going to load the administrator. And most people, like if you go to a website, every client is an administrator. That is like the worst idea ever. So what I usually recommend is making a fake role, make a new administrator role, which I'll show you how easy it is. Let's do it right now. Let's do it live. So I'm going to copy the administrator role, and I'm going to call this role developer, right? Then Now this like super role of the person who can do everything is now called developer, right? Then I'm going to go back to administrator. And I would go, I'm not going to do this here because I would rather do this with code because it's version controlled. Then I would remove the capabilities administrator. And then you tell the client, yeah, you're an administrator, but don't touch developer role because that's where the bad stuff happens. And you move all the plugin capabilities over there so they never touch it. And so this kind of language, you'll get a client who's like, I need to be admin. I need to be admin. Okay, you're admin, but remove. But here's what drives me crazy. And if I ever pick up a site from you and I see you, I'm gonna like meet you in person when it's over, and I'm gonna yell at you. Don't hide it programmatically here because someone does. There's nothing worse when I go in and then the plugin capabilities are hidden from me. I'm like, well, dude, you hit it and now I have to figure out how you hit it in your weird hacky way. But so what I did before the call, by the way, was I went and said, okay, I need to make a marketer. So what I did was I cloned the editor role, which I named it marketer. And then I went and used this and I terminated their ability to edit blog posts. I terminated their ability to edit page posts. But I said, wait a minute. My marketing team, they need to be able to make case studies. They need to make promotions and they need to be able to edit testimonials. So I'm going to go and give them full capabilities. But you know what? Maybe I want to make it, they can't delete other people's testimonials. I don't want them poking around in there, right? And then now I save those changes and that's the marketer role, right? Now, how do I know that this role works correctly? If you guys remember, and by the way, this is all there is to it. Like essentially, like you just need to go and make your custom post types. Your custom post types show up here. Again, if you're using any kind of weird, funky mumbo jumbo plugin called like Super CPT 5025, no guarantees. If you use WordPress core, super easy, stick to core. Now I'm going to go back to my user roles. I'm going to look for marketing person who I made, Mark the Marketer at marketing@victorious.com, role of marketer. I'm going to switch to. And now I'm Mark the Marketer. And look what Mark the Marketer sees. He has his own dashboard. He can't touch any comments. Posts, I effed up there because he can see categories and tags. That's a little granular. But again, you'll learn and get the hang of that. But he can edit case studies. He or she can edit promotions. He or she can edit testimonials. Great. So now they're limited to the thing that I want them to do. And when this marketer comes in, you don't have to now teach the marketers. You don't have to get with the marketers. You don't have to have 5 meetings when a new marketing person joins. The marketing person logs in. They see WordPress and they're like, oh yeah, this is our site and I know what to do with it, right? And so that's super easy. So that was something that I recommend doing. I don't know what the boat meant. Are you boating away, Nina, or boating with us? Like, just let me know. Yeah, like the boat, that was a little, all right, cool. So again, no one really touches this, so I don't have a resource to share with you, but really dig into user roles, and I'm going to show you other things we can do with user roles, right, in a minute. So now let's go and look at our types. And so like I went and said, okay, we definitely need posts, we definitely need pages. I added landing pages. Landing pages are a little wordy. So I went and, a lot of the times clients will go and make all their landing pages under pages. But if anyone knows, page search in WordPress sucks. Like I'm going to go in here and type like about us and like, why are these even showing? I typed about and I don't know why. I don't know, but it doesn't matter because we're not, you should not have your landing pages in here. So you go and all you do is clone the default page type and make a new one called promotions, and add all the basic functionality of what a page should have. And that's it. And now all of a sudden, landing pages are separate from standard pages. And so you can rename pages to like company pages and promotions. And so now you're creating a better user experience for the client and you're making it a lot easier so you don't have to explain to them, oh yeah, sorry, promotions are for landing pages and pages are for company pages. Like you're just doing some basic string changes and make it super easy for them to use. Next up, the other thing we do is like case studies, testimonials and services. So the big one I would say is like, and I'll just show you in the code, when we go and create custom post types, in my personal opinion, I think there's 2 types of post types. There are Gutenberg post types where the user is going to go and drop blocks in there. And there are what I call data post types where it does not need to be dynamically editable data. And that would fall under something like a testimonial. And so for a testimonial, we don't use Gutenberg, we use ACF. And the benefit of that as well is these testimonials don't actually render in any archive. They don't show up anywhere. So you can actually change that. You can make it like no archive, I forget what that, has archive false, exclude from search true. So this isn't going to show up anywhere, right? Like no one can actually use this. And so the only reason it exists is for your admin team to be able to go and add testimonials. Now, why would you want to have a testimonial that no one can view on the front end? And the way that that works is you can use testimonials to render on the front end as a custom block. So we actually don't even let the client, hey, this testimonial that you want to drop everywhere, we set it up with custom fields, and we make a block. We add the custom fields for the type, which is under here under testimonials. If I go to edit it, and then they can go and pick the testimonial wherever they want and drop it on the page they want. So we all of a sudden now they're not, why would they need an archive of testimonials? Who has that? No, I don't think it's even valuable, right? And so now they can use that. And so a couple other things we do in here to make it nice. The one thing I hate about some stuff, like if I go to this testimonial right now and I go and add new, right? See how it says add new testimonial? You will go to some WordPress websites and it says add new item. Well, wait a minute. Is it an item or is it a testimonial? I thought it was in testimonial screen. Oh, I am the testimonial. Right. You can change all these strings. And like for anyone that wants to know how to do that, just go to generatewp.com, post type. By the way, again, this is in the slides. And if you go and just like, this is how I generate my post types like before I knew how to really code and use VS Code. But it taught me a lesson that all you have to do is go and change all these things. So like if I go and update this code snippet, instead of search item, I'll say search everything, just to be facetious, to kind of show you what that looks like. When this snippet updates, this snippet will now say search everything when you go to search the items in the admin interface. So you're getting full control on all these custom post types to create a custom user experience so that the user isn't confused about where they are. And sorry, I didn't put this in the thing, but if anyone knows, this is actually from Stephen Krug, Don't Make Me Think. It's like the 12 principles of user experience. And it's like, I think the one is like, don't make me think, like, where am I? What am I doing? How do I get back? All these things. There's like a list. So if you go and check out Don't Make Me Think, Don't Make Me Think. It doesn't matter how many times I have to click it as long as each click is mindless, unambiguous. I don't read, we scan them. So go and check all that out. And again, just like, don't be a WordPress person, be a human. And this is like develop for humans. All right, cool. So those are the custom post types that I made, and I'm going to get to Gutenberg in a minute, but I think you really need to understand these things and the power of all these types. So now we're really creating this kind of custom user experience. You know, we have cases, we have testimonials, we can add services, but I just showed you. Sorry, again, jumping around. I showed you testimonial. That looked good, but here's the one thing, and I'm actually going to do this in the code so I can get the illustrative effect of what I actually want to do. I'm going to go here, and I am going to turn off this filter and just do that. Hopefully it doesn't break because I forget what I did here. So I turn off that filter and I'm going to go back to Mark the Marketer. I'm going to go to Mark the Marketer and I'm going to go and like switch to him, and he's going to go edit a promotion and he's going to add a new one. And then he's going to say, oh, do I have a pop-up? And actually, sorry, that was in the functions file. Trust me, it's going to be hilarious when I actually get it done. I am going to, so I kind of stole my thunder, but I'll do this real quick. Speaker and whatever. So the guy's going to go, oh yeah, like, or the guy or gal, the marketing person's going to go, oh, I want to go and like add this thing. I want to go and like do this. Well, so now they're going to go and add a video. And this is like actually, sorry, one of the biggest things I find all the time. Uncomment this. There we go. So I go back to this, right? And then the client's going to go, I want to add a video, right? I think I'm doing something wrong here. Sorry, I guess like one type promotion. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. It's like literally been like months that I've touched this, and it is under. So essentially what I want to show you is, and I think I did something here, like when we have to go back out to reset it. But when this person goes to add the promotions, right? A lot of the times the client will have too many blocks. They'll have a Vimeo block, a YouTube block, the standard core block, the WordPress TV block, and they'll say to you, well, which one am I using? Which one do I actually use? And so what I recommend is that you should go into, you can go and set all of the blocks. So what I actually did here, and what something's not happening that I need to modify, in this demo, I only whitelisted paragraph, image, heading, and video for type of promotion. So what that means now is when this marketer goes, they can only use the blocks that I've enabled them to use. So now they're not going to say, do I use Vimeo or do I use YouTube? Do I use this or do I use this? You don't have to make that decision. You don't have to have a conversation. It's already predefined in the blocks interface. So now you've customized Gutenberg with a singular function. And someone asked me before for links. All of my code, when I write code, I do what's called doc block, and I put a doc block link. So if you command click this link, this guy's article is here on the internets. So you don't even need to like know how to do it. Like just go and click every single link that I have in here, and these like exhaustive articles, all the code snippets are here. And the other benefit of this is if a developer says to me, I don't know how to do that, I'm like, sure you do. Click the link in the function file. And then I don't have to spend a lot of time training developers. It makes it a lot easier. Yeah, so and actually, let me just save one more thing. I thought I had save on thing. All right, trust me, it works. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. It's not working. But yeah, so I'm going to switch back. But yeah, that's like another customization we can do for promotions. And the same thing for testimonial. That's what I kind of was showing you before. For the testimonial post type, one of the things that I hate, right, I'm going to actually turn this messages filter off. So I'll turn this off right now. I'll show you what this does. So I'm going to go right now to this, the testimonials, right? I'm going to add a testimonial. I'm going to say, this is my testimonial, right? And I'm going to go, let me see if this works. I'll just do blurb, 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 and then at blurb.com, whatever, and I'll publish it, right? Notice how it's, again, maybe I'm editing. I think I'm in the wrong folder. Sorry, guys. Like that's why my code isn't editing live. So what that would normally do if you're on a WordPress website, it would say post, publish, view post. But what did I say before? You can't view the post. So how many times you've been on a client site and it's the post or type publishes, and then you go to click it and it's like, and then it says 404 not found, and then you think it's broken and the client thinks it's broken. So what this filter set does, it actually overrides and removes the post type link programmatically. And it's essentially saying, if the post type does not have a publicly queryable, searchable front end thing, all the stuff I showed you in the ACF, don't show those links. And now that makes it a lot easier for the client to go and they're not going to get confused and get a 404 on the front end. They're going to see exactly what they need to know, and they're going to know this doesn't have a front end because there's nothing for me to click and there's nothing for me to view. Any emojis? Give me a test. Like anyone, how's everyone feeling? This is a lot. But this is like core, man. This is like WordPress has been going on for 10 years. Nothing I'm showing you should be a surprise if you've been developing in WordPress. All right, cool. Everyone's asleep or their keyboards aren't working. All right, Dana, thank you for the love. All right, cool. My regular cheerleaders are here. All right, cool. So Jack, the point of a post is it's usable for data. So essentially, if you want to use it, so to show you on, I can actually show this. So we have a client site where, what is it, triplelift.com. And each of these team members, they're not publicly queryable or searchable. But if you go to the leadership section, they're editable via WordPress, but they render like this. So there's no reason for them to be, they don't view the single. When they go and view team members, they view it here. Yeah. So then the other thing is, well, now wait a minute. Here, what's even better? And by the way, I'm going to like level you up a little bit. Now that we have these testimonials as a data type, what else is good with data? APIs. And so one of the things that I try to tell clients, we haven't got any clients to buy in yet just because they don't use Okta. If anyone's not familiar, Okta allows you to provision your teams. It's like G Suite where you can like have your user roles, et cetera, right? You can connect the WordPress API with a custom post type and map your custom fields to each of map your API fields to this. And what you can do is set up a function where every time a new team member is added or removed, they're automatically populated here on this team section. I don't have a team section here. Or alternatively, you can set up a front end form. And I don't know if anyone's seen this. I didn't have it ready for the demo because I didn't save it. But there's front end submissions from Gravity Forms. And Gravity Forms has user submitted posts. And so what can happen is you can have the client have a password protected page or like some kind of authenticated page and allow people to submit their testimonials and then set them in draft. So then this client, instead of having to create the content, all they're coming into is reviewing content and saying, this testimonial looks good, this testimonial looks good. And then you can have on the front end on your blocks, and again, this is more advanced, on all your blocks, have it where you pull the latest taxonomically correct testimonial. Meaning if it's on a case study page for SEO, show an SEO testimonial. If it's on a case study page for WordPress, show it on a WordPress page. So this is like how, but you can't, now I'm gonna tell you one thing. This doesn't work if you use page builders. This doesn't work if you use John 5000's 3000 Swiss Army knife plugin from WPMU. It doesn't work. And so that's what I'm saying. This is the benefit of like core WordPress. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's like, that's the customization there. Let me jump in here, watch my time. Steve, I promised 5 more minutes. So yeah, so we can restrict access per role. Now, custom notifications per type. I covered those labels, remove actions for limited CPTs. And then another big thing is you can hide SEO below. Like I like Yoast SEO is a great plugin functional wise. And you guys have to remember, like as much as people talk crap on those guys on Yoast, you're not their customer. Their customer, remember what I said, is the type B, the people who need WordPress. And so they need to see that like featured images and stuff aren't updated. But if you're someone that's doing that on a programmatic basis, there are ways to hide it. There's built-in functions. Go into GitHub and like actually one of my favorite things to do, if you ever want to know how to do something, like I actually don't even bother reading tutorials anymore because people just do this. I will just go and type in here and I'll type Yoast hide something and search GitHub and someone has a snippet. So like that too works all the time. And that's like, you don't even have to kind of like read the manual on that. Cool. Let me just make sure I'm getting any comments. Okay, cool. So Stephanie, I'll let Steve get to your questions. But yeah, so all right. Cool. So now I showed you again, like the marketing role. I showed you that jumping around again, but that's the power of the marketing role. And so the code sample, again, like it's all inside there. If I were to zoom out, it's very easy, very clean. I actually only have 3 big functions. We're registering the post type. We're adding a filter where we modify the testimonial notices. And then we have admin columns. And so if you ever use, and this is like the big thing too that I'll tell you, if you don't have a client that's allowing you to update data via API, you can also use, and I didn't have it installed, so I put an image in here. Our clients love this. It essentially allows WordPress to almost act as a spreadsheet editor and allows them to do inline editing. So they can go and click and update all the images, go and change all the content, go and change all the authors, go and change all this stuff, and do inline editing in the WordPress admin. And so for all of those, we also, and the reason I recommend putting all of this into a functions file is if you're moving between environments, you don't want to have to sync the database. So if you put it all in your functions file, you don't have to ever touch the live database. You just move it up there and it shows up. So that's what I really love about these kind of things. Cool. Yeah. All right. So yeah, so that's the code sample. And I did show this again, like, yeah, jumping around, I apologize. And then we can, not only can you restrict blocks by type, you can also restrict blocks by role. So you can make it that only certain people can enter forms, only certain people can add a CTA, only certain people can edit things. You can restrict sidebar plugins by role. So if anyone's not aware, like one of my favorite things to put on a site when I'm first building it out, I don't know if I didn't add it on here, but there's something called instant images. So I'll add it right now. I think they changed it because Unsplash got acquired. Again, stuff's changing all the time. But I like instant images because it would bring in like WordPress images, right? And so one of my favorite plugins, instant images, it's great, but then I have the client pulling in Unsplash images that I don't want them doing. So when you read through the documentation or, basic WordPress stuff, I went in here and by the way, again, like this is like a big dump of like all these different customizations I did. These are the ones I just to show you some things that I like to do. When you go into Gutenberg, if you see here, editor placeholder, the default placeholder when you go to add a new post is something like write your story, which is like cool if you're, whoever WordPress people are. But again, let's get outside of it. Look what I wrote here. Start writing or add a block with /WCPHX. Now I honestly think I've made a better experience for the user, where now they don't have to, do the start writing. So I've changed the placeholder because that other placeholder means nothing to the user who doesn't know WordPress. I've disabled the custom colors because I don't want, this isn't Crayola, this is a business site, right? And so I need people to be able to go and add a heading with only the colors that I give them. So I disable the custom color picker and I add brand colors. There's not even a custom color picker. I only add the brand colors inside of the theme. Again, I used instant images. This is like WordPress 101. Again, this is a function, prefix, WCPX, Phoenix instant images user role, add filter instant image user role. And so I've essentially made a role that if they can activate plugins, then they can add instant images. If they can't, then they can't use instant images. And so you can limit functionality, and that limits, and when I say limits functionality, on the right-hand side here, instant images, when it gets installed, shows up for admins. It will not show up for people who I don't want seeing it. I remove meta boxes from Genesis, a bunch of other stuff, your theme ad stuff. But then the other thing too, which I really like, is to content limit, like how much people can put in certain things. And this is where I restrict available blocks by user role. So again, something my filter must have got reset somewhere else, or something changed in WordPress since February 2020. I limited it to only, again, add filter, if a user can activate plugins, they get everything. If not, whatever. So that's like another way to do that. So a lot of this stuff, this is all WordPress 101. I'm not doing any of this, right? And so I showed you all that, so I'm going to skip that. I just showed you the code. But the other thing too, that I didn't have ready today, was one of the other things you can do as well, and this is kind of like what about Genesis. Sometimes when you go to the front end, right, and you may remember this, like on like old WordPress websites, you go to it and you go to like a page with a sidebar, and in the sidebar it would say like, there's nothing in the sidebar, add widgets. But then if you like logged out, it would say nothing. You can use those conditional roles or is logged in, is logged out to guide the user. So if you wanted, you could put a notice here that says, this is your sidebar, this is a contact us form, and it's used this way. And so then guiding the user, and then almost even setting links. You could set a link of like, want to customize this, click here, and send them to the admin of where they need to go. And so that's like, I didn't have that ready for today, but that's something else in the demo that's really powerful. I did cover that. User submitted testimonials, user submitted FAQs, helpful warning and errors, highlight widgetized areas. And then to let you guys know, like you might notice my WordPress is cleaner than most. I don't have, like the WordPress button, because it's pointless to have my user go to WordPress.org when they're using me. They're not using WordPress.org, right? I remove the Yoast thing, I remove all that. All of that, again, is documented in this giant functions file where I literally have, default, remove Yoast, remove this, remove, I don't even know what some of these are. Quick press, remove right now, remove activity, and then customize the admin bar, remove comments, remove logo, remove updates, remove content, remove customize. And you can set these conditionally. These are all like, you can just borrow these. They're in the open source repo. And then finally, I would just stick to the core blocks. And what I mean like sticking to the core blocks in WordPress, I'm going to just show you guys. I didn't want to dig into the code because I think it's easier to show you guys the capabilities of what you can do with basic WordPress PHP, right? One of the things that we do when we go and work on a website is we will go and say to the client, okay, look, give us your default styles for your website, right? And we install this plugin, Block Unit Test from Richard Tabor. And if you go and view it, what it does is it gives you all of the blocks that, like, so paragraph, heading one, preformatted block, button, so if your theme is coded correctly, this should be left aligned, this should be center aligned. That means this theme needs to be updated. Categories, does this archive, does this have a bullet list? Is this bulleted, is not bulleted? And so here's what's crazy. This block unit test, and by the way, this all needs some cleanup. Like this has like not been touched in like a year. But this block unit test has all the core blocks. And so the benefit is if your developer then knows how to go and customize the core blocks, they can go do it again. This is my personal site. I leave this on here just so, for me to go and demo for clients and whatever, right? And again, this like is a Genesis theme, it needs to be updated, whatever. But then here's another thing. Anyone that's using Gatsby or using headless stuff, etc., everyone always complains to me, oh, Gatsby's so hard, it's so bad. And it's because you modified WordPress. Stick to core. If you drive a Toyota and you throw a coffee can muffler on it, you voided the warranty. Do not put a coffee can muffler on your WordPress website, okay? And so this is a Gatsby site we're currently working on. We did not have to teach the developer how to set up all of the custom blocks and how. By the way, we did no custom code. They set up the page route, and then this automatically rendered on the front end because Gutenberg is nothing more than HTML. And so now on the front end, our Gatsby site is rendering all of our core blocks and required 0 custom development for the blocks. And there's still some work to be done. Like we have to give some feedback. But we did this in, I think, a day's work. And so now we can say to a client, yeah, sure, we can do it in Gatsby because we're using the core blocks. And for anyone who's unaware, I did put this in here because this is before WordCamp Phoenix 2020. This is September 2020 when I leveled up even further. if you want to know how to customize blocks from a visual standpoint, because I would argue you should not be touching the data yet, this is a thread that I'll include as well, and it's how to customize it just using CSS. And even up to level 5, you're not building a custom block until like you run out of options. Yeah, and so let me make sure I'm done here. Yeah, and so again, none of this required more than 10 lines of PHP. It's documented for people to cut and paste to other projects. So mind you, you can now say to your client, I'm going to clean up the admin, $500. Okay, great, looks great. Put it in the proposal. Going to cut and paste, right? All these functionalities are default WordPress. No extra plugins, no weird stuff that's going to get put in there. And then we only have to document the custom work. So now, mind you, your client, remember I told you they're going to Google WordPress form, WordPress pop-up. No, they're using Elementor. Well, guess what? Now they can use, and even like Allie, I don't know if Allie's in the call, she's one of our co-organizers. She just uses the Gutenberg, I forget, but there's like a Gutenberg block website where this person maintains how every single block works. And we essentially just link to their block manual. And we're just like, yeah, here's how to use this block, and here's how to use this block, and here's how to use this block. And like we don't even maintain our own block, because the client can easily go, oh yeah, that's the WordPress block for this. And so now we don't have to write documentation. But then, and that's a benefit, and we can charge more because we're like, hey, you don't ever have to like talk to us again unless you want to. Yeah, and then that's it. And yeah, so that will be in there, and the slides will be in there, and that's it. Cool. I think we have some, let me see my time. We do like 5-10 minutes Q&A, Steve?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool.
Any questions for Victor? I think you answered most of them as you were going through the presentation.
Yeah, it's a lot, so nothing. Can I get emojis if it was good? Like just at least so I know like to modify. All right, thank you. The usual suspects. All right, cool. Well, that is that. The repository, the slides, the recording will all be there. If I blew your mind, like, mention me on Twitter or whatever, let me know, because it lets me know how to plan for future stuff. But that is it. Steve, how do I give you control?
I don't know, I just took it back, I guess, but I think we're done. So
okay.
Have a good night. I posted.
There were no questions in there. I saw someone ask a question about Beaver Builder.
Oh, I must have missed it.
Oh, we didn't have. So Stephanie O'Hanley said, I have clients who want to learn Gutenberg. I teach them what everything is. I don't take away their access to default WP admin. If they want to customize it something else, I guess it depends on your client. Yeah, it depends on your client. The one thing I would say too is that do think about like, I would sit down and like track your time and think about how much time you spend. A lot of the people that I meet that do WordPress professionally, they don't realize they spend 10 hours a week talking to clients, and like, guys, you got to get paid for your time. Like, you can't go to your doctor and be like, yeah, you want to talk about cancer for 2 hours? Like, it doesn't work like that. Value your time and reduce your exposure to COVID, I guess, right? So like, yeah.